Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Stanford Live. I'm so excited to have our APP team from the Stanford Cancer Center back with us again. We had them on last year, had so much fun learning just about the department over there, about career opportunities, and why this group loves to work here at Stanford. You're going to see some familiar faces this year that were with us last year. But again, any questions that you have as you're listening to our team talk, drop them in the comments. They're happy to answer them here right now while they've kind of got your attention. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Alison.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our second live event here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our HR team for hosting us. We hope that you'll learn more about Stanford, why we like working here, what our culture is, how our APPs practice and are utilized, and hopefully get some of your specific questions answered. My name is Alison Morris. I am a medical oncology hematology nurse practitioner. In the outpatient setting, I am currently the lead APP for one of our network cancer sites down in San Jose at Cancer Center South Bay. And I am here to kind of introduce you to our team. Wanted to share a little bit more about our cancer center and the 160 APPs that work under the umbrella of the Cancer Center. We are an NCI designated cancer center, and we have APPs in both the inpatient and outpatient setting across a wide variety of various specialties that all care for cancer patients. So that includes medical oncology, hematology, radiation oncology, various surgical specialties that take care of cancer patients, as well as APPs who work in our infusion center. So I personally have two open positions. One is a relief position in breast surgery, and the other is a full-time position split between hepatology and medical oncology. So again, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to pass it over to one of my colleagues and another lead APP, Arthi, to share a little bit more about herself and her team and her open positions.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you again to our hosts. Thank you for all of you joining. We hope that you can get a lot out of this and have a little bit of a personalized experience with advanced practice at Stanford and the Stanford Cancer Center. My name is Arthi. I'm a lead nurse practitioner at the Women's Cancer Center here at Stanford. We have, as part of the Cancer Center, a dedicated area to care for women with cancer, and that includes breast and gynecologic malignancies. And we actually have 3 open positions, including one in the East Bay, and happy to answer questions about that. Stanford, I have been here for over 10 years and absolutely love working here. And I would say that Stanford has been one of the most supportive organizations for advanced practice with tremendous opportunity for professional growth and development. And being in an academic institution, there are several opportunities for growth, not only as a clinician, but in clinical research, as well as in leadership opportunities. So with that, I will pass this over to Jevon, my other colleague, also a lead in the inpatient area.
Well, good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us. We're really excited to be here, and great to get the chance to tell you a little bit more about Stanford and the positions that we have open. I'm Jevon Gegg-Mitchell. I'm the lead APP for inpatient hematology and oncology, and we have at Stanford 2 APP-run teams on the inpatient side that take care of medical oncology and malignant hematology patients. And these are really special teams because they're APP run. So there are really just a lot of opportunities for kind of full scope practice as an APP. our inpatient APPs are not sort of, competing, if you will, in any way with residents or fellows, for example, for like the most interesting cases or for procedures. Everything that needs to be done on these services is done by APPs. So these are primary services, which means we're admitting, we're discharging, rounding on patients, calling consultants ourselves, entering all the orders. We do procedures. We kind of do really full scope inpatient hem-onc care. So it's very dynamic, very intense work, can be quite exciting at times. Definitely never a dull moment, but also very, very kind of broad in the breadth of disease processes. So rather than kind of specializing in one particular type of cancer, we're seeing most all types of cancers with a few exceptions, and really kind of becoming experts in sort of the inpatient management of those cancers, be it the regimens of chemotherapy that are given in the hospital, or just the kind of common complications that cancer patients unfortunately encounter, which require admission to the hospital. So I currently have one full-time position open and a couple of per diem positions open. So I'll go ahead at this point and pass it over to my colleague Kwan to tell you a little bit more about some other outpatient opportunities.
Thanks, Jevon. So I worked with Jevon as well when I was an inpatient hem-onc APP, and I agree it's a really exciting role to be in. So I'm Kwan. I'm one of the NPs and the lead for the infusion treatment area APPs. And currently, we are recruiting for a couple of positions I'll tell you about. So my experience in hem-onc runs 20 years. And I always continue to love being in this field. And so at Stanford, love working at Stanford. I've been here for almost 13 years now in various positions, inpatient, as well as a few years in outpatient lymphoma. And in the infusion treatment area, currently, we are recruiting for 2 positions. One of them is a full-time position, which is a 4 10-hour shift position. And then another is a relief position. So in this role, it's a very independent role. So we are looking for experienced hem-onc APPs, or even acute care with some hem-onc experience as well. Because it is an exciting role. You are working at the top of your license and addressing any of the infusion-related acute issues that occur for the patients that are getting in their chemo, biotherapy, they're getting, any kind of injections. So it is a really exciting role. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from you. And also, if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, well, with that, those are great introductions. I'm going to actually pass it back to Alison, have her kind of tie everything in, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, thank you. So hopefully that gives you kind of a brief overview. I wanted to also share and respond to some of the questions that have been coming in. So we do hire new graduate APPs as well as experienced APPs, and we continue to put a lot of effort into our onboarding and orientation process. We're super committed to our APPs' success, and, as well as their professional growth and development. As a whole, we are doing a lot of work, as Kwan mentioned, for all APPs across specialties and in all areas to be independent and work to the top of our licensure and really experience the greatest scope of practice that we have. And so, we do this in partnership with our physician colleagues as well as other APP colleagues. And we really, the ultimate goal is for us as APPs to have independent practices parallel to our physician colleagues. So these positions that we are mentioning and sharing about today are for clinical APPs. So we don't have a residency program or a new graduate residency program, but we do have each specialty has kind of specific onboarding and orientation guideline structure, training process that we do with each of our new APPs. And even if you're experienced but not experienced in the area of practice, we of course help support people through that as well. And this is just for APPs, so that's nurse practitioners and physician assistants.
Thank you, Allison. I was going to take this time to introduce Chelsea McDermott, who is our talent acquisition recruiter that oversees all of our APP positions for this group, and have her kind of explain what are some of the perks about working for Stanford, compared to other competitors here in the Bay Area, and typically what the onboarding process looks like for someone interested in applying, as well as if you have questions, being able to reach out to her and get those questions answered. So Chelsea, I'm passing it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I am Chelsea McDermott. I'm part of the talent acquisition team here, so I help support a couple different departments, but primarily work with recruitment for within the Cancer Center for our APP positions. If you've heard about any positions today that you're interested in, just to kind of let you know how to apply, I can drop the website once this is posted. I can put it in the comment section, but you can go to our career website. It's careers.stanfordhealthcare.org. There's actually a drop down too that you can scroll down to advanced practice providers. You can take a look at any of the ones mentioned today, but also all of our open positions throughout the Cancer Center. I'll go ahead and drop that later after this is completed. As for interview process, I would say primarily most of the teams are fairly similar in, typically would receive an application, kind of review your information, see if it's a good fit. From there, I would usually send that over to the lead for each position. Usually start with a phone interview, then typically some type of virtual panel interview with additional team members as well. Some cases there could be, a third interview, but that's, just kind of dependent on who's all available and who's all participating in each part of the interview process. Usually from there, if, everything's kind of moving forward, we would check references, and then, can move forward with an offer at that point. Usually kind of process for extending offers. I would usually, set up a time with you, extend a verbal offer, and then, can go over kind of any questions that you might have about the actual offer, benefits we offer, things like that. That's something I can also share with you at the end, can share my email to set up a time to talk. Even if you don't have a specific position in mind, I'm definitely happy to, just discuss like your interests, see if there's anything that even some of my colleagues might have as well, to see if, there's any kind of good fit for you within the organization. And then can also share with you some additional information on benefits. But I mean, we do offer just kind of the standard medical, dental, vision, PTO, we have retirement, CME allowance, things like that. But I can definitely go into more detail if you want to set up a time to chat as well. As for just kind of our credentialing process, it's usually, I would say, on average, it's about 90 to 120 days, I would say. That's typically about the average process through getting through the whole entire, for your file to actually be complete. You would have, I'm always kind of there to kind of help guide you through the process as well, but you do have like a designated credentialing coordinator that kind of helps you with that as well. And I just, continue following up and staying in touch with you until your actual start date. So that's just a little bit about the process of, applying, interviewing, getting through credentialing. Like I said, if you have any questions, I'm going to include my email at the end, but it is cmcdermott@stanfordhealthcare.org. So definitely anyone that has any interest in chatting, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. And now just to kind of get to know these guys a little bit better, Quan, I'm going to give you a heads up because I'm going to start with you, but a little bit about your story. What made you choose Stanford for your current opportunity? did something stand out? And, what keeps you here? What makes you love coming to work every day and calling Stanford home?
Thanks, Carly, for that question. So I came out from the East Coast. Actually, that's where I received my post-baccalaureate BSN, MSN. And so then worked there for a while, came back. And it was new to me, even though California is my home, but I hadn't worked as an APP or an NP back home here. So I worked in the community for a while and just found that I needed a change. Coming to Stanford, I felt that at that time, which was about 13 years ago, there weren't too many APPs at the time, to be honest with you. And but you can tell that there was some camaraderie. There was also just a start of the Center for Advanced Practice, even though that wasn't the name of it at the time. But to be honest, at Stanford, there's so much support. The Center for Advanced Practice provides a really great structure. And I always feel like there's a challenge every year for me, and there's something interesting I can do. There's a lot of different committees. So for me, once I felt that I needed something a little bit more than just work, I definitely became a lead for this committee called the Outreach Committee. So we would, coordinate events for APPs to attend, whether it's doing, beach cleanup or helping write letters to seniors. So basically outreach for the community. It was really fun, provided some leadership opportunities. And so there are other committees as well for APPs through the Center for Advanced Practice. So always an exciting place to work.
Thank you so much, Kwan. And kind of keeping along those notes, Alison, I was going to pass it over to you. You've been with Stanford for so long. You've, obviously climbed kind of up the ladder here at Stanford. Can you tell us just a little bit about your background, about why you've chosen to continue your career and kind of the steps that you took to keep moving and elevating your career here?
Absolutely. So I came to Stanford in 2009 as a nurse, inpatient hematology oncology nurse. And prior to 2009, I worked at UCLA, also an inpatient. So yeah, I came here in 2009 as a nurse and went back to school in 2011, got my DNP, NP in 2015, and then was an inpatient hemonc NP with Jevon and Kwan. And then in 2019, I came outpatient down to the Cancer Center in South Bay, which is right near my home. And so, yeah, I think what has stood out to me about Stanford is the community of people that work there. I think people who take care of cancer patients, I'm totally biased, but is a super special group of people. And because of the nature of our work and what we do, we get really close and we need each other to support each other, whether it's to knowledge share, verbally process things that we see, but also to back each other up because these people are sick and do need a lot of care. And so I think all along and in every round that I've worked, whether it's as a nurse, inpatient, outpatient, as a lead, as a fellow clinician, the group of people has been real. They've been supportive, caring. Everyone kind of cares about the well-being of one another. We all want to see each other, take good care of patients. And so I think that's been a really special thing about Stanford for me through all the various teams that I've been a part of. The people are just super solid, and the cancer patient population has a really special place in my heart. And I just can't imagine working anywhere else and doing anything else. And like Kwan said, we do have a lot of support, and we're working on growing that support, to all of our APPs and creating more structure, and kind of just formal, roles and expectations and responsibilities, and just continuing to partner well with our physicians so they see and they know our value add. And I know Arthi has been a huge part of that work, and so would love to have her share more with you about all the hard work that she's doing with some of our other colleagues.
Thank you, Alison. I think you did a great job explaining some of that. I will echo what everyone else is saying. I've been here over 10 years as well. And I think the two words I would use to kind of summarize my reason for still being here is opportunity and teams. I think Stanford offers tremendous opportunity for you in terms of how you want to grow as an APP. As I kind of touched on earlier, if your passion is really in academics and research and getting involved in clinical trials and being a sub-investigator and publications and presenting at conferences, there's tremendous opportunity for being involved in all of that. If your passion is more in being involved in advocacy, there's opportunity through the Center of Advanced Practice in getting to know other APPs across the Cancer Center and being involved in committee work, quality work, even outreach things such as Quan mentioned. So I would say having a structure around advanced practice through Stanford, we call it the Center of Advanced Practice, that provides that support across the organization for advanced practice is critical. And I think that has helped us tremendously progress to where we are today. We also have opportunity for promotions through something called a ladder, APP ladder. And so after you've been working as a APP for 2 years or more, you are eligible to apply for a promotion, which again offers more opportunities for outreach, advocacy, research, committee work, quality work, et cetera. And so really whatever your passion is and how you want to develop your role as an APP, you have that opportunity here. And in terms of onboarding, I guess I will touch on some of the work that we've been doing to ensure success of our APPs. I think, many of us have been in leadership positions for a few years and have seen what works and what has been hard for newer APPs as they progress and transition to independent practice. And with that, we have created and continue to work on a robust onboarding program for new APPs that includes mentorship and direct kind of side-by-side training with an APP on a regular basis every week, seeing patients with that APP in addition to physicians that will help with that transition to practice. And so that is something that is very specific to the Cancer Center because we know we work in subspecialty care and we really want our providers to be experts in their field. And that does take time and it takes dedicated training. And so that's something that we are committing to for our new hires. I can pass it over to Jevon to maybe
I was going to say, Jevon,
Okay.
We've had so many things going on here, but also I wanted to pose the question to you because you've been here a while as well. What's one thing you wish you had known before you started at Stanford? If someone could have told you before you came that maybe would have helped you make your decision sooner or quicker, or just something that you really wish anyone out there looking to move to Stanford, something that you really think they should know that just really resonates with you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I guess one thing I wish I had been able to attend something like this prior to joining Stanford, because I do think this venue is provides opportunity to hear from actual APP leaders at Stanford and kind of directly about the specialties, which I think would have been really helpful. Although at the time I did join Stanford, the recruiters did a great job and the hiring manager did a really good job kind of explaining to me what to expect. But one thing I think that I guess I learned after I was here it's maybe something that's even more sort of ubiquitous now, I guess I would say, is this sort of mission within the Center for Advanced Practice that we have to really make sure that APPs at Stanford are reporting to APPs. So your direct supervisor, your manager as an APP working at Stanford, in almost all cases now, it's been a process over a number of years to get to that point where we have the leadership structure to do this. But in almost all cases now, your direct supervisor as an APP working at Stanford is also an APP, which is really important just to have that kind of support from someone who really understands what it is you do as a PA or nurse practitioner and can kind of support you from that perspective. So I think I can say that's really been a huge benefit, I think, to have that. And I just want to make sure that you all know that that's kind of what to expect when you come here, which is not the case at all institutions.
Thank you so much, Jevon. Another thing I wanted to pose probably to Alison or Arthi, because I know you guys came from the East Coast. So we tend to get, not just an APP, but as a whole, we tend to see a lot of candidates relocating, specifically from the East Coast. So obviously that's a huge leap. You're relocating across the country, getting this amazing job at Stanford. How did Stanford embrace you? How did you feel so welcome that obviously you've stayed all of these years and never thought to move back to the East Coast? Is there anything that just stands out? Maybe those that are looking at Stanford, but they're nervous about making that jump and relocating so far away from home.
So actually, just to clarify, I moved from the East Coast. I grew up in the Bay Area, but it is a huge transition. So for people who are interested in doing it, again, I think it's part of your personality. It's part of what you're interested in doing, experiencing a new area. I just have to say that coming back, I appreciated having the inclusivity of Stanford. Stanford is really currently promoting and really does try to promote being inclusion, diversity. And so I really appreciate that about coming back. Certainly, the credentialing process at Stanford is really excellent. And so I think, it really helps to have that structure to have a process that's really clear. So that really helps a lot when you're moving from the East Coast over here. I must say that, sometimes with transferring your license, it does take time. Everything takes longer when you're trying to do that, but just being patient with yourself and to make sure that you check off all the boxes. It may take some, maybe like half a year for people who are trying to transition over to another state.
Thank you so much, Quan. And maybe another question that kind of ties into that. How do you guys bond just as a team? Do you guys do team building activities? Are there different things that you do, down at the Cancer Center, celebrating, birthdays or milestones for your cancer patients that kind of bond you as a whole, so that on some of those harder days at work, you can really lean back on your work family and they're supporting you? Because obviously working with cancer patients, they're very sick and sometimes not the outcomes that we want. So I know mentally there can be days that are just harder than others. So how do you guys just build those relationships in and out of work so that on those days you just know that you have this great support system at work?
I can.
Oh,
go ahead.
So I was just going to comment that a couple of things that we've instituted within the Cancer Center and also through the Center of Advanced Practice is a wellness program. So we know that there's been a lot of focus on physician wellness over the years, and just the same, I think we need to focus on APP wellness. And so we have a wellness committee through the Center of Advanced Practice, and we also have representatives in each area including in the Cancer Center, I believe we have 4 wellness champions that organize events throughout the year. Some of them are virtual, some of them are in person, but they are available and open to all our APPs, and they're well attended. In addition to that, we have team building events, happy hours, lunches, lunch and learns, and such events such as these to kind of get our team together and have opportunities to interact outside of work.
Thank you, Arthi. I love that. I know that we kind of touched on when we first started the different openings that we have available here at the Cancer Center with APP, but I wanted to kind of circle back and just go into a little bit of detail. Jevon, I'm going to start with you. But, with your openings, ideally, what are you looking for in a candidate? What is something that someone can do to make themselves stand out? Is there a particular experience that you're looking for, specific certifications you're looking for? How can they sell themselves on the position? Or is there a place that they can go to learn more specifically about the position, maybe outside of the actual job description, to learn just a little bit more about the department itself?
Yeah, and just to remind everyone, I oversee the inpatient oncology APPs, and I think all sorts of candidates can be right for this job. It does, take someone who's really up for kind of a steep learning curve at times, just because, as I mentioned before, the breadth is pretty broad. We're seeing all different types of cancers, so you're not really necessarily getting the chance to kind of specialize in one particular malignancy. And I think for some people that can be, really, interesting and stimulating. And then for other people, that's not the best fit. And it's better to think about going into something with a little bit of a narrower scope, which is totally fine. I think as far as experience, usually candidates come in for inpatient oncology with either some significant oncology experience or sometimes just significant inpatient medicine experience, because really our job is kind of like that of a hospitalist. Sometimes I describe it as being like an onco-hospitalist, like an oncology hospitalist. And because we're dealing with not just the oncology and hematology issues, but all of the kind of general medicine issues that come up for hospitalized patients. So candidates that come in with a lot of hospital medicine background, but not necessarily hem-onc, can also be real strong. All that being said, we do sometimes hire new grads. And it kind of just depends on what you're looking for as a new grad. Sometimes, it can be a great first job if you're really wanting to just learn a lot and you're up for something that's pretty fast paced, and you're able to kind of be in a position where every day is really different, and that works okay for you, kind of coming into work not necessarily knowing what to expect. I think for other new grads, being in a more predictable environment for a first job can be better. So it really just kind of depends a lot on what you're looking for as a candidate, and what you feel like would be the best sort of fit for you, as a new grad in a first job, or if you have experience, whether something this sort of broad would be what you're looking for. But it really is working inpatient, taking care of hem-onc patients. It's very rewarding. It's exciting. It's fascinating work. And so if you're up for that pace, I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Jevon. I'm going to actually pass it over to Arthi, and she was going to kind of tie in some other things, are the APP fellowship, as well as other openings.
Thanks, Carly. I just wanted to add on, as Jevon was commenting about new grads, we also have a wonderful program through the Center of Advanced Practice, is the APP Fellowship. So this is open to new graduates to apply for a 1-year program that is a paid fellowship to rotate through the Cancer Center, different areas of the Cancer Center, and have a very dedicated mentorship one-year mentorship opportunity to have exposure to various areas within the Cancer Center and services, and have kind of that extra learning time after graduation. It's a really amazing opportunity. Our APP fellows who have wanted to stay on with us into full-time positions really have been able to, because they have the opportunity to get to know different providers, different areas, and build those relationships and really gain those skills before they transition to a full-time role. So if anyone is interested in oncology for a future career, I would highly recommend considering also the fellowship. It's a great place to start and really gets you a foot in with some really dedicated training time. And I think I see a comment about, what makes a candidate stand out to us. I think, what I would say about that is really enthusiasm and hunger to learn, and a passion for taking care of, oncology patients, right? I think it's not for everybody, but it really is something that we are looking for, as somebody who is passionate about taking care of patients with cancer and dealing with chronic illness. And we're here to teach and support and mentor you in that.
Thank you so much for that. Well, our time here is starting to wrap up, and I wanted to give each of our leads here a chance just to kind of give their final thoughts, anything that they, want to make sure that they got across, anything that they really think you should know when looking at opportunities with us here in APP roles at the Stanford Cancer Center, anything they think that you should know about the Stanford Cancer Center and the amazing, just work that as a whole we are doing here. Alison, I'll start with you, and you can pass it off to the next teammate.
Yeah, I think that I don't have much more to add based on what everyone has shared today. But yeah, I would echo, I think what Arthi says is totally true. I think, we are looking for someone who's enthusiastic, who's passionate, who's a good team player, who values learning and curiosity. I think we have all said, it is hard work, and, our days are full, but, we want a balance for all of us. And yeah, I think we're just continuing. Well, I guess I'll say what I do appreciate is our leadership team, and this is largely the Center for Advanced Practice, and then us as leads as well, just constant refinement and kind of analysis of what's working and what's not working, and how can we encourage and support our APPs so that they do have professional fulfillment, as well as ongoing professional development opportunities, and continuing to support so that we do feel like we have real work relationships, and we do feel supported by one another, and our needs are being met, as well as we are meeting the needs of the people we take care of. So that's the culture. And so, I think if that's kind of what your values are, what you're looking for, then Stanford's a really wonderful place to be.
Okay, Quan, I'm going to pass it to you next.
Thanks, Carly. So yeah, I think we are looking for candidates who are committed, to being APPs at Stanford, who do, really feel passionate about oncology, or if you're not sure, learning about it as well. And, in learning the evidence-based practice behind the things that we do, and just someone who has excellent critical thinking skills, but has a great heart. So, we're definitely here. And so ask any questions that would help you, decide your career path. Thank you.
Chelsea, I'm going to actually let you have a quick moment, because you've worked with us here for a couple of years now. Just your experience with Stanford and what you would tell to others about considering Stanford as a future employer.
I have enjoyed every second of working with Stanford. I think honestly the biggest part is the teams that I work with, whether it just be my TA leadership and TA team that I work with, but also just all of the leads that I get to, work closely with on helping with recruitment. They're so knowledgeable and just really seem to love their jobs and support their teams so well. I get nothing but great feedback from whether it just be someone that interviews and maybe decides to go somewhere else, or just people that are on their teams every day. I get amazing feedback and really know that they love their teams, they love their leads, and feel very supportive every day.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to send a huge shout out to our team today. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us, telling us more about openings within APP here at the Stanford Cancer Center. Hopefully it was informative for everyone. We will be putting in the comments across all these platforms that you've been viewing this video from, Chelsea's contact information, as well as a link to our careers website and the landing page for our Center for Advanced Practice, and the link for our APP fellowship. Applications won't open until winter, but you can kind of see the full gist of our program. And there will be a Q&A with the director of that program, Kelly Bugos, here in the fall. So definitely, if you're thinking fellowship, keep your eyes open for that here in the next couple months, and we will see everyone next time. Thank you so much.